About what portions were you working on before, Mike?
Yeah, so we actually just the summer and early fall we have done quite a bit of work, um, essentially from Chimney Rock there, and
Okay.
that's in just around
Uh huh.
Nebraska, up to Laramie, Fort Laramie, Wyoming,
It's a good
and then
stretch then.
yeah, and then actually a little bit past that, so right around between there and Independence Rock, we also did some work
Okay.
uh, recently. So
And was this walking survey? Were you just walking over the and looking at the ground, or did you were you
yeah,
using
so
any
we were
tech?
doing a project for power line, and it just happens to coincide pretty close to the actual route of the trail, and so recorded quite a few miles. I think this summer and fall, probably 25 different segments of the trail that we recorded.
Wow.
Everywhere from maybe a mile to a little shorter to, a couple 100 feet
Hmm.
long. So it just depended on how access was and if we were allowed to go on private land. So
So what kind of things do you find like along this path or along
yeah,
these trails?
so right now, you really see mostly just the remnants of the wagon road, and what it's going to look like is a big, wide depression in the ground, a linear depression, and you can actually see them pretty clear on aerial images if you know where you're looking. But occasionally you'll get some artifacts and you get some broken wagon parts, especially at drainage crossings where we come to a fairly steep or kind of an area where a wagon might break or where they need to do some repairs. So you might find some of those. Along the Oregon Trail, there's actually a number of different graves that we know
Oh
about,
wow.
um, that you can actually find. I think the stat that I read in 1852 or in 1852, like close to 700 people died along the trail.
Wow. Yeah.
Um,
I
so
mean,
there's
playing this game from when I remembered, I guess it shouldn't be that surprising because
yeah,
everybody dies every time I played this game.
mhm. Yeah. So I mean, you have some the stretch from Independence, Missouri, to Fort Kearny, and then on to Fort Laramie was pretty quick. I mean, it was some sandy areas, but once they left Fort Laramie, they started climbing into some hills. And so there's actually some great quotes of travelers just dumping like their
Oh
belongings
wow.
to lighten up the load of their wagons to start getting up into these what they called the Black Hills.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So yeah, so you have all sorts of different things that you potentially could find. There's a number of different stage stops and way stations along that, as in the 1860s when this route became part of the Pony Express, they started using and started establishing those. So these corridors are actually, I mean, there's a lot going on.
Hmm.
What you're finding, and these routes aren't just a single individual route. I mean, they're braided, and so you'll find multiple different wagon ruts and areas, and it can take some work to try to assess them and figure out what's going on.